What is going on? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I have an absolutely ginormous announcement to break. It was just released that Dana White said that the headliner of UFC 306 in the Sphere officially is Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. The co-headliner in that event is Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso, and the featured bout in that fight is going to be Diego Lopes versus Brian Ortega. This is an absolutely loaded top half of this card, and this is possibly the biggest event in UFC history with how much money Dana White has put into the event. He has apparently put in $17 million so far into this event. So let's get right into this video talking about and breaking down the UFC 306 fight announcement. If you guys enjoy the UFC videos and content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so please go and hit that subscribe button. But UFC 306 just got announced, and let's jump right into the video breaking down all those fights. Okay, so it was just broke that the headliner of the UFC 306 event in the Sphere in Las Vegas is going to be Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili, and this is the fight that everyone in the bantamweight division has been waiting to see. We all know that Sean O'Malley just defended his title against Chito Vera in UFC 299 in Miami, and he won the title off Aljamain Sterling at UFC 292 in Boston, Massachusetts. But this event is absolutely ginormous. We have Sean O'Malley, probably the biggest star currently in the UFC, up there facing Merab Dvalishvili, who's an amazing character, and this fight is going to sell massive. We have the old striker grappling match where Merab Dvalishvili is on a 10-fight win streak, and we got Sean O'Malley over here who is going absolutely insane in the UFC bantamweight division. He finished Merab Dvalishvili's teammate Aljamain Sterling to capture the UFC bantamweight title at that UFC 292 event, and he put on one of the biggest striking clinics against Chito Vera. But how do I think that this fight is going to play out between the two fighters? And I think that Sean O'Malley is just going to be too fast for Merab Dvalishvili. I think that Sean O'Malley is going to go out there and truly put on an absolute masterclass, again showing that Sean O'Malley's wrestling defense is going to be superb, and that his jiu-jitsu ability is a lot better than a lot of people truly think out here in the UFC community. Although Merab Dvalishvili's gas tank is going to be something that truly tests Sean O'Malley to his absolute max. Merab has the best cardio in the UFC, and if it's not the best, it is up there top 5. Merab goes for days. He goes for every single round without getting tired, and it is something truly masterful. But this fight between these two is absolutely insane. Like I said, Sean O'Malley is one of the best strikers in the UFC, and you put that with one of the best grapplers and best energy guys in the UFC, Merab Dvalishvili. Sean O'Malley's a funny character. Merab's a funny character. This build-up to the UFC 306 main event is going to be absolutely massive, and I think that this fight is going to be one of the biggest fights of all time and possibly the greatest bantamweight title fight that the UFC has ever seen. But I do have Sean O'Malley clipping Merab Dvalishvili pretty early in this fight and getting the knockout at the UFC 306 event at the Sphere. The co-headliner of UFC 306 is going to be Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso for the third fight of the last flyweight title. We all know that Alexa Grasso had the rear naked choke over Valentina Shevchenko at UFC 285 as the co-headliner under John Jones versus Cyril Gane, and that fight was absolutely insane. That was an amazing performance by Alexa Grasso. But at this last fight at UFC Noche last year on September 16th, I think it was, that it was an absolute dogfight between these two women, and ultimately I thought Valentina Shevchenko did enough to get that fight done, but one judge ruled it as a 10-8 in that final round for Alexa Grasso, causing this fight to be a tie, which that was an absolute awful scorecard. But these women are going to settle it down one last time back inside the UFC octagon. And who do I think is going to win this event? And I think the bullet Valentina Shevchenko early on is going to come out and establish herself as one of the greatest women's mixed martial artists of all time. She's an absolute savage inside the octagon, and she has some of the best skills the UFC has ever seen for a women's fighter, right below Amanda Nunes. This fight is going to be filled with action-packed striking, grappling exchanges. It's some of the highest IQ women's fighting that you can truly imagine. This is the best UFC women's fight that you can put on right now. We've seen it twice before, and I am 100% happy to see this fight again. I am so excited to see Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso 3. And as the featured bout on the UFC 306 Sphere card, we have the fight that was supposed to co-headline the UFC Vegas card at UFC 303 International Fight Week, and that was Diego Lopes versus Brian Ortega. And this is an absolute banger of a fight. If you go back to the old videos on how excited I was to see this fight, I am still so excited to see this fight go down. Brian Ortega is one of the best veterans in the UFC featherweight division, and to test someone like Diego Lopes going up and fighting Brian Ortega is an absolute dream of a fan to really watch. I just broke down of how Diego Lopes has an incredible striking game, and he's got so much power, but he is so good on the ground. He has got some of the best jiu-jitsu the UFC has ever seen. The way he throws up submissions so quickly is so dangerous. The Movsar Evloev knee bar and the jumping, flying arm triangle, arm bar versus Galvin Tucker. This is going to be an absolutely amazing fight filled with different submissions and different techniques, from the striking to the grappling, having a very good up-and-coming prospect fighting one of the best overall fighters in the UFC featherweight division. And two, this fight is going to be better for both because each one is going to have a time to game plan for their other opponent and ultimately bring the best out of one another as the UFC 306 featured bout. I got Diego Lopes winning. I'm on the Diego Lopes bandwagon. He is such an amazing fighter. And truly, I believe that Diego Lopes has the chance to become the UFC featherweight champion. I think his style matches up really good against Ilia Topuria. But before getting to that next step, jumping up against Brian Ortega is logically the next move for Diego Lopes, and that is an absolute banger of a fight as the UFC featured bout on the UFC Sphere card. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think about the UFC 306 announcement. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili headlining the card, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 3 as the co-headliner, and Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes as the featured bout on the UFC 306 Vegas card. I know there's a couple other names on there like Daniel Zuhaber and Raul Rosas Jr., but the real spotlight should go to these fighters that are headlining the headliner, the co-headliner, and the featured bout, because those fights are absolutely insane. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that post notifications bell so you guys are always notified when I drop the most recent content. And please go hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and subscribing is the best way to show support for the channel. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and I will catch you guys soon with more UFC content and news.